Prince William has caused a frenzy in the media lately, firstly for his unexplained and rather last-minute cancellation from his godfather's memorial service, so dropping out for mysterious personal matters. Now, that was a bit earlier this week. It got everyone talking about the health of the Princess of Wales, though the palace has been quick to stamp out any gossip, reporting that she was, in quotation marks, recovering well, though we still haven't seen anything of her. But now we've heard from her. William referenced her when he went to a synagogue in London overnight, and he said that both he and his wife, Kate, were extremely concerned about the rise in anti-Semitism. He put out an almost unprecedented statement, Ange, last week, relay to the war in Gaza. And that, I mean, for a royal to weigh into that kind of thing was bizarre. And a lot of people, particularly those from Israel and of the Jewish faith, thought that he was having a dig at Israel. So is this maybe his way of kind of coming back in and softening that a bit?
He was always planning to do this. This was actually cancelled from earlier in the year, so he definitely had to turn up yesterday to this event. Otherwise, there were going to be massive questions asked. To your point about Gaza, yes, that was really unprecedented for a royal to step into that conversation. He stopped just short of calling for a ceasefire, but I think, he needed to address the issue of anti-Semitism, which is rife in London at the moment. I've been speaking to friends over there. It's really bad. The second point about the referencing Kate, oh my gosh, those people in the palace must be working overtime in terms of damage limitation in the press office. Because, you know what, I'm sure that earlier this week, Kate was not going to be mentioned in this at all, but the personal matters, there's so much, the environment around the royals, if you're talking to anyone in London right now, is febrile because people don't know what's happened to her. We haven't seen her since Christmas. The fact she's name-checked in this, the fact that William, cited personal matters for not being at King Constantine's memorial is really interesting. We don't generally see them citing personal matters. So a lot of questions about how Kate is.
Is it making you more curious?
Of course it is. I mean, the journalist in me is desperate to find out what's going on here. There's so much speculation because Kate has simply been out of action for so long. And naturally, if you've got Prince William who's pulling out of what seemed to be quite an important event that he would normally have been at, and that he hasn't. Look, naturally, the internet is going to run right. We know the monarchy are notoriously private, so whether or not we ever find out what is going on. But of
course, if it was Harry or Meghan, someone from the monarchy would have leaked it by now.
We would have had a real field day with it, but no one's telling us what's going on.
Now, quickly, Facebook has announced today that it's not going to renew its deals with Australian media. So essentially, and look, I'm paraphrasing here, they want to use all of our content and not pay a cent for it. They are a billion dollar company. The record profits this year. I think it is appalling.
I think it is appalling. They're a $1 trillion organisation, for goodness sake, and they cannot pay just for simple news services. In the end, in times of crisis, who do people turn to? They turn to news outlets. They turn to reputable news outlets like Sky News, and journalists to give them the most up-to-date information. And there is nothing wrong with paying for such a good service. I think it's an appalling decision.
I think you're absolutely right. And I, as someone who writes and whose content is cannibalised by these platforms, it really distresses me. If we want a strong, capable, investigative media, if we want the sorts of probing journalism that means that we have a fourth estate, then we actually have to hold these companies to account. And under the agreement that was signed 3 years ago, there is opportunities for fines and that sort of thing, whether or not that actually pay them. But I think the government has to go in hard. We knew this was going to happen because it happened in Europe. So why were we not on the front foot with it?
Yeah, it's frustrating. And as someone who really lobbied the government to introduce the Online Safety Act and had some quite incredible access to the responses of these big social media companies, they are just, and I don't use this word lightly, they are scummy in the way they approach the responsibility they have, not only in a commercial sense to content and a market of whose content they use to make lots of money, but won't take responsibility for the safety of people using their platforms. They are, just when you think they couldn't get any worse, they do. And the Australian government should say, well, sod off.
I agree.
They lose much more than we do. And yes, I'll miss Instagram at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'll find something else to do.
We'll find something else.
I'll absolutely find something else. Ladies, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break.